Chapter 6 Study. The hot, dry days sped by, each brilliant with sunlight. Tigre thought often of his milpa, of the piles of trees and brush drying slowly in the heat. Now the green will be turning to brown, he thought. Now it will be turning to gray. The sun was preparing the land for fire. Father remained in his hammock. His leg refused to heal. Infection had set in, and the wound would close over, then break open. Occasionally the medicine man came and made prayers and offerings and put healing bandages of annona leaves and honey and garlic on Father's leg. Both mother and great-grandmother felt that the hens and honey spent for these visits were wasted. What could the medicine man do? Had not the stone and grains of corn told him it would be harvest time before Father was well? At harvest, Mother said, Father will walk again. When the corn is in tassel, great-grandmother said, the sickness will pass. In the evenings, Tigre went to Don Alfonso's house, though he had long before made up the lessons he had lost. The two had come to enjoy these hours together. Tigre had always been a boy for asking questions. Why does fire burn only the bush that is cut down and not the standing trees? Why is one part of the year dry and the other wet? And his family would answer, because it had always been that way, because that is the way the world was planned. But Don Alfonso encouraged the questions. He had an answer for each one, and sometimes he patiently drew the boy out with questions of his own. Why do you think fire does not burn live trees? Don Alfonso said. Because of the sap. Yes, Dionisio. If it takes so many weeks of hot sun to make felled trees dry enough for burning, living trees can resist and stop even strong milpa fires. Great-grandmother says fire burns only the milpa and stops at the standing bush because that is the destiny of fire, to burn the cornfields, not the bush. She says the gods of the bush protect the standing trees. Mamich says I am too curious and it does not please the gods to be always asking questions. You should know better than that, Dionisio, Don Alfonso said, though in a way it is true. The good God in his wisdom protects the trees by giving them life-saving sap. And the schoolmaster thought, perhaps in the centuries gone by the boys' ancestors were among the great Maya princes and scholars who alone possessed the highly prized learning and passed it down like hoarded treasure from father to son. The Spaniards destroyed the ancient collected wisdom by burning all the books of knowledge, but an almost inherited ability for learning persists in a few. There are always one or two above the others with a passion and a quickness for study. And he said, do not be afraid to ask questions, Dionisio. Never accept any statement without weighing it. Reason out the answer for yourself. One day Tigre returned home from school to find his family in a great state of excitement. One of the hens is dead, Concha told him. Killed in the night, Mother said, by a vampire bat. The door to the coop was left open, great-grandmother said. Mother was sure she had closed the door. Tigre tried to remember if the door had been opened or closed when he left in the morning, but he had been in a hurry, and if he had noticed, he had forgotten. Mother was usually careful about closing the door. Most of their neighbors' chickens ran freely about the yards and rode and slept at night in the trees. But Father, like one or two others, had built a small pen. Perhaps you did not close the door tightly enough, Father said. Be sure you put all the hens in tonight, Father told Mother that evening, and be certain the door is fastened tight. In the morning, another chicken was dead. Great-grandmother dressed it and roasted it with herbs, and at dinner they ate the meat with a sauce of chili peppers. I cannot understand it, Mother said. I closed the door carefully and fastened it with a stick. The next morning, 2 chickens were dead. Soon we will have no more hens, great-grandmother said. No ceremonial fowl and no eggs to trade with the traveling merchant for cloth. Bad luck walks with us these days. First Father's sickness and now the hens. She took some tortillas and pozole and placed them on the altar at the end of the room before the Holy Cross. There must be a hole in the coop, Father said. There is no hole, Tigre said. I looked carefully. It does not need to be a very big hole, Father said. A crack merely. But truly a vampire bat cannot open doors and fly through wood. But why should a bat go inside? Tigre asked, puzzled. Are our chickens better than those of our neighbors? There are hens enough outside. Why does a vampire bat always go to the same mule night after night instead of going to a different mule so the first animal can make new blood and get well? Great-grandmother asked crossly. Because it is a vampire bat. That is the way they do. There is nothing we can do, Mother said. The gods wish to destroy us. That is plain. After lunch, Tigre went out to the chicken house. Again he went carefully over the coop, feeling it inch by inch with his fingers. There was no crack. He opened the door and crawled inside. A little later he came out. Come here, he called. Mother and great-grandmother ran out of the kitchen. Father limped to the door. In his hand, Tigre had a vampire bat. High in one corner, up under the roof, the bat was inside all the time. So, he said, there was something we could do.